Today, we're going to critique some business advice. Is it good? Is it bad? Let's find out. Hi, my name's Wes Hone. I'm the founder of the Kingdom Business Movement, where we're looking at practical, real-world business advice teamed up with the depths and the wisdom of Scripture, because when you put those two together, it's explosive. So the team have trolled YouTube Shorts, they've trolled Instagram, they've trolled TikTok, forgive me Lord for going on TikTok, and we're going to find some people and audit what they have to say. Let's get into the first one.
People that are successful are the ones that are working on the business as opposed to in the business. So every time I see an entrepreneur and I see that they're working in the business, I'm like, okay, dude, you're not going anywhere. You can't scale working in the business. You got to think, how do I work on this business to make it this kind of its own living, breathing thing that operates without me?
Well, I guess it's largely true, right? You can't scale a business unless you're working on it. But I can't stand this notion. It's so clickbaity. The real truth is that you have to work in a business, especially at the very early stages when you can't afford to put a team around you. Who's going to do the work? Somebody's got to do the work, right? And so it's really romantic to say work on the business, but you may have to actually work in it for 50 hours a week and then work on it in the evening, right? That's how most people scale up a business. You might have to show up in the business from 8 in the morning till 5 or 6 at night, being a technician. And as long as you never work on the business, you'll be that technician forever. So he's right in what he's saying, but it's a bit romantic. It's not like at the start of a business journey, you can just be like, I'm working on the business and never in it. I guess you can if you're not skilled in the area and you're loaded with capital because you can just fund a team to build a business. That's awesome, but that's going to require capital raising. That works, I guess, in tech, but it doesn't work anywhere else. So I would say to you, don't feel beat up if you can't work on the business enough. Do that outside of hours and scale that way. But don't be upset about needing to work in the business. That, my friend, is what we call life.
What's your advice to entrepreneurs out there looking to make a life for themselves with a business?
Get ready to fail multiple times. Only a third of people can actually make it through entrepreneurship because it's incredibly hard. And if you can't handle that, don't try. Growing a business is almost impossible. It's not get rich overnight. It's going to take years. It's best to be an entrepreneur in your 20s. You have this horrible decision about the balance of time in your life. It's very hard to do it later on when you're free to actually spend 25 hours a day working.
I'm a huge fan of Kevin O'Leary. I think he's one of the smartest voices on the planet when it comes to business. I have to side with him, yeah. He's totally right. And I think, he said, you've got to be prepared to fail. The people that build a great business are the people that went from failure to failure without giving up. Right? You are going to have to fail. If I look back over the 26 years that I've been running businesses, mostly small little bootstrappy businesses, most of them went nowhere, right? I might have built them to the point where I was like, I don't like this anymore. And I was young enough just to sell it and move on and use that capital into the next one and then sell that and roll the capital in the next one until we got to 2009 where I took one company into 5 countries around the world and sold it in 2011. But even that, it's all just trial. And it's not even the business that's going to try and fail. It's even in a successful business that you're going to have to try a lot of things and a lot of them are going to go to zero. But if they don't all go to zero, the things that work really fly. It is incredibly hard. 80% of businesses fail, in the first handful of years. Most businesses are trying to build a business in 5 years, right? Which you very, very rarely can you do. When somebody decides to enter an apprenticeship, they earn no money for 4 years, and then on the 5th year, they get a little wage. And yet in business, everybody's trying to make money in year 1. It's like the first 4 or 5 years of business is an apprenticeship. It's when you learn. And a lot of things are going to go to zero in that time. And don't be upset that they do. I've got a real beef, right, that our school system actually sets us up to fail in so many ways because it teaches us that failing's bad, which I guess has its merits if you're taking tests, but that doesn't map to real world because in business, the way you learn how to make it work is you make so many mistakes that you get to kind of figure things out over time. I'm a big believer that it's incredibly hard. Only 4% of businesses that start ever get to $1 million of revenue or more. Once you get to that 1, 2, 3, 4 million, you've got product market fit. It becomes a little bit easier to grow it out from there. But you've got to be prepared to take the punches, to take the losses, and not give up. And if you can have that inside of you, that desire, that hunger to not give up, you will build something great. But if you're like, I'm scared of failing, I don't like risk, like if that's where you're at, it's very unlikely that you'll build something great.
Worst business advice I have ever gotten. I've gotten this advice, and I'm sure you have too, to sit down and relentlessly detail out a business plan. I don't buy it. Number one, you don't even know what the market wants. You've got to test the marketplace. Number two, you don't want rigid thinking. When you lay out a really detailed plan, you get stuck in a rut, and you're not as flexible as you need to be with a business. And number three, and most importantly, fire, ready, aim. 3 words I live by. If you sit there and you detail out this business plan, you're not even gonna get started. You're gonna be sitting down working on the business plan. You're gonna be missing the market. Fire, ready, aim.
Well, real Joe DeCina, I tend to agree that that's pretty bad advice. The really big in-depth business plan definitely has its place. It's required for 2 things. Raising capital from a major bank or from a bank. And the second place that you're going to need it is if you tend to grow a business and put it under management. So you're going to, basically handball over, build a management team to run the business and you're absent, you're going to need it then because how do they know what to walk out, right? How do they know what to build? How do they know what the future holds? In those 2 cases, you're going to need it. For the day-to-day operator, it is a bad use of time to do a 47-page business plan. So what we teach our clients is we do a 90-day plan, right? And we kind of put some markers of where we're going to be in 1 year and we hold tight to the marker. We hold loose to the year, but we hold really tight to 90 days, right? And we know exactly what are the strategic objectives to get done in 90 days that line up to where we want to be in 1 year, and we document it all on one physical sheet. One sheet becomes the plan. Because it's moving so fast now that you can't afford to sit there and start making big in-depth plans because an algorithm could change tomorrow and your whole plan's out. A new product launches for ads that you didn't know you had access to, now your whole plan's out. You might have built your business, for example, on Facebook ads, and then you find out, Apple put a 30% premium on boosting posts through their iOS, right? And that blows out your ad spend. Now you need to find a new marketing pillar. So much is changing every single day that it's very hard to get rigid with a 2 to 5 year plan. So I agree with him, but you've actually got to know the vision of what you're chasing. Right? Because if you take what real Joe said to the extreme of like throw caution to the wind, that doesn't work either. Otherwise you end up getting tossed around like the wind and you never actually achieve anything. You start chasing all these opportunities and you go round and round instead of forward. You've still got to have a compelling vision of what you want to build. You've still got to have in your mind what's the footprint, what's the size, what's the reach, what's the head count, what's the org chart, what's the products and services, like how far do you want to push it and what your exit is. You still got to know that. Without that, then you will just be all over the place and probably go nowhere. So get really clear on a vision. Don't get too upset with the big business plan, but get really precious about what the next 90 days looks like.
Must admit, I think creating a business plan is a complete waste of time. It's so old school. The way that we test businesses and business ideas right now is to just get out there, put some messaging out into the marketplace, build a sales funnel, run some traffic, and see if people like it. Your first attempt is likely not going to work. So if you spend 6 months building a business plan and then you're like, okay, now I'm in business, let's get the clients, you might find that original plan doesn't work and you wasted 6 months. You could have tested it in 2 weeks and then moved to a different strategy.
Well, he's right, but no one's sitting there for 6 months making a business plan. So he's like off chops there. Like no one's actually doing that. Sounds good clickbait, well done for him, 450 comments, but no one's doing that. So it's a bit unnecessary. The notion, I agree with him. Don't sit there doing a business plan, just get on with it. But you know what? He lost it for me when he's like, just build a sales funnel. Yeah, they're not businesses, buddy. Right? That's a sales funnel. Yeah, you might be able to make a bit of money in the short term, but you're not building a business when you build a sales funnel, right? You are literally just very cleverly putting a message and producing a solution to a need, great. But they're the businesses that go out, they go under in 5 seconds when life gets a little bit hard or software changes or whatever, because they do not have underlying value in their entity. So although I agree, don't get caught up doing much with a business plan, Like, you can't just build sales funnels for the rest of your life because you will not actually build a business.
So here's 3 of the worst businesses you can start in 2022. Number 1 is a restaurant or a cafe. Unless you have big aspirations to franchise the business, go multi-location, that is actually a hobby business, very low profit margins, high expenses, not a good business. The second business is anything to do with selling physical items. There's too much cost involved in the production of the items, the shipping, the handling, that again, the profit is too small out the other end. And thirdly, this is a category of businesses, anything offline, okay? If you're offline, you're fixed to a location, it's harder to get in front of the right people at the right time and get their attention. You need to be bringing your business online where you can use social media to explode the reach, explode the eyeballs on your business and grow fast.
So he's obviously doing this whole laptop lifestyle type, whatever he's selling. I don't know what he's selling. I haven't checked him out, but he's definitely doing this, like, make it easy on yourself and you can run a great business from anywhere in the world, okay? I agree with the first one, right? Restaurants, unless you're gonna do a really high level restaurant, like very expensive high level restaurant, I wouldn't do it. But like, don't have a business that sells products. You mean like the largest businesses in the world today? Like, come on. Like they're actual businesses that have underlying value, right? Like, imagine telling Apple, you should be just an online business. It's like, yeah, well, tell that to the person that rolled out Apple stores and saw their revenue explode. If you want to help people make $32,000 a year online to supplement their side hustle, his advice is probably, I don't know, 3% relevant. If you actually want to build a business, like don't do anything offline, yeah, great. So you want to stay purely online, and it's so funny because most of your online brands over the last 10 years are now going offline because they're realizing that they need to have a physical place, right? So that they can build community, right? And build a following, because online changes so fast that there's no consistency. It's like, this guy couldn't be any further from the truth. And so, buddy, best you learn how to build an actual business.
Use all your savings, have zero. And that didn't work, honestly. If you had come to Financial Peace University when I was teaching it with an overhead projector before we had the baby steps, I just was hardcore. Shut up, sell everything, use all your money, don't whine, get your butt out of debt. Because if you don't get out of debt, none of this is gonna work.
So Dave Ramsey is the GOAT, there's no doubt about it. I don't agree with everything, but I don't need to. What he's built is absolutely incredible, and so I want to honor him in that process. I'm probably still more like old Dave. Like, back against the wall, have no savings, put the money to work. He's talking about paying off debt. I'm talking about investing in your business. I'm like, you know what? Keep a very small amount of money in your everyday bank account so that your back's up against the wall, so that you're forced to do the things that matter, like actually sell products and services. I keep a very small amount in the trading, also helps my wife not overspend, and just pour the rest into the business and into investment so they scale up over time. What I have found is once you start to get a bit fancy and you have a buffer and the buffer builds, you actually get lazy because you're not as hungry as you used to be.
I built wealth without reading a book a week, without making my bed, without journaling, without a 2-hour morning routine, without giving up alcohol, without giving up Netflix, without waiting to marry, and without leverage. Because the only thing you actually have to do is find people want, sell it to them for more than it cost you many times.
Yeah, I don't buy it, Alex. I think it sounds good. I think it's really good for social. But of course you had a morning routine. Of course, I mean, look at you, you're in incredible shape. You obviously had a routine. You obviously had incredible disciplines. You obviously trained. You obviously ate well. So you can't really just throw it all out, right, for the sake of getting some clicks and some interest. Do you need to cold plunge? No, you don't need to. But for some people, that might be a great way, right, to handle the stress. You can't just throw the caution to the wind and say, find a product and sell it to people. There's more to a human than products and sales. There is your everyday life that you have to handle. If you're watching this and you've got kids, they're stakeholders in your business that you need to manage. If you're looking at this and you haven't done any exercise for a long period of time and that upsets you, then yeah, you're going to have to manage that into your life, into your daily schedule. It's cool for Alex to say he doesn't need it, but the truth is he would have had all of those things and he would have needed to navigate other areas of his life. And he said it was before he was married, you didn't need to get married. Yeah, but if you're watching this and you are married and you've got other areas of your life to juggle, then what he said is pretty bad advice. Well, that's me signing off. Remember, like, comment, subscribe. I hope you got some value. My whole purpose here is to take what they're saying and reframe it possibly to help you win in life. Do me a favor. When you're scrolling the internet, looking at stuff, when you see advice you want me to comment on, tag me in it. Right? So that we can see other bits of advice and then I'll put it into a future show. It's been fun. See you soon.